Hi everyone, my name is Kligerman Fan, and today we are going to be hopping on the bandwagon. So currently it's Thursday night, 2 days ish, well I guess a day and a half before the Clash weekend starts, which officially marks the beginning of the 2024 NASCAR season, and of course I am very excited for that to happen, but like I said at the beginning, today we're going to be hopping on the bandwagon of predicting the playoffs for this season. Now, it's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens this year because Ford's got a new body, Toyota's got a new body, Chevy's just the same as always. But as you can see here, we got multiple topics that we can talk about here that we can put the numbers in, and I'll go through the numbers and just put them in which ones I see fit. So up here is absolute lock. Now this is for the people that I think are definitely 100%. There's absolutely no way that they can ever get out of the playoffs unless they have like some crazy injury like last year with Chase Elliott or something like that. Probably lock is for people that I'm genuinely pretty sure that they can probably make themselves lock themselves in, but there's always a chance that they can't. Maybe is going to be like for the people who are fringe playoff contenders, and I think that they could point their way in if circumstances go their way. But at the same time, they might not have as good of a shot as some of the other people. Long shot is exactly what it sounds like. People that could make it into the playoffs, but very, very likely won't. And then absolutely not. This is for the very low tier cars that definitely will not make the playoffs this year, in my mind at least. And then down here is non-playoff eligible, or MPE. It is what it sounds like. These are basically like part-time cars like the 15 and the 16. So let's get into this. So first car up, Ross Chastain, the number one machine. I'm going to put him in probably lock. Now, the reason why I'm not putting him in absolute lock is probably pretty obvious because of his last season. I don't really know. It could be just a one-time thing, and I hope it's a one-time thing because I personally like Ross Chastain as a driver and as a personality. But you never know. Something, out of his control could happen. He could have a Martin Truex Jr. season in the 2022. So you never know. But he's going to be probably locked because I have a good feeling that he's going to get in. Next, the 10 of Noah Gragson. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put him in the long shot category. I just don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's a driver that I can put in the absolutely not category because that'd just be mean. I feel like Noah Gragson is a very talented race car driver, but he just needs to prove it on track. And, SHR, I don't know how they're going to be next year with the new dark horse. It could improve. It could help them improve, or it could put them right in the back where they were last year. So, like I said, it's a long shot. We shall see. Denny Hamlin, absolute lock. Our first absolute lock. Though I don't like Denny Hamlin, I have to admit that he is a fantastic race car driver, and there is absolutely no way that he misses the playoffs this year, unless something drastic happens. I'm going to put Ryan Blaney in the same category. Last year's champion, he got knocked out in the round of 8 in 2022, and then came back and just kind of was incredible in the playoffs. So I'm going to put him up there in absolute lock. I think that he makes it in for the fourth or fifth year in a row now. It's got to be more than that at this point. Whatever. Okay, we move on to the next one. Chase Briscoe. I am actually going to put Chase Briscoe in the maybe category. I think that out of all four of the SHR drivers this year, he probably has the best chance of making it into the playoffs. And he is a talented race car driver. We've seen it. Last year, even though he was racing for a team that was struggling week in and week out, Chase Briscoe had some terrible runs last year, to be quite honest, but he did grab a couple of top fives and was fast at the super speedways. And in this format, you get a win on a super speedway, you're in. It's a maybe. It's definitely not probably lock. Most definitely not absolute lock, but maybe he gets in. You never know. And these next two, Kaz Grala and whoever else is racing the 15 this year, probably Cody Ware, and the 16, both part-time cars. They're not non-playoff eligible, although I would love to see Kaz Grala race full-time. He's my favorite driver other than Parker Kligerman. Unfortunately, he has to go in that category. Now, Christopher Buescher, the 17 car for RFK. I'm going to put him in probably lock because I have a good feeling that he's going to get in next year. But at the same time, I don't want to jinx it, but the RFK had a fantastic year last year, especially compared to, all the years before that. With both Brad and Chris getting in to the playoffs, both of them making it to the round of 12. Chris Buescher making a deep playoff run with 3 wins, the most in his career high statistics all across the board. I really hope that Roush has another fairy tale season like they did last year, because this team, although it's not my favorite team, I definitely like to see them do well. And yeah, that's that. Martin Truex Jr. is up next in the 19 car. He is definitely an absolute lock. I do think that 2022 was a bit of a fluke. I'm pretty sure he finished very well in the regular season standings, and just by, the playoff format, he got knocked out by Ryan Blaney and Austin Dillon. So, last year, unfortunately, he did not perform well in the playoffs whatsoever. He was super good in the regular season, and he won the regular season championship, and then just dropped off an absolute cliff in the playoffs. But we're not making how the playoff predictions. That'll be for later in the year once the playoffs actually start. For right now, I'm saying that Martin Truex is a good lock. Now, Austin Cindric, I'm going to put him in the long shot category. I know he won the Daytona 500 in 2022, but there's been absolutely no improvement from this team. In fact, they regressed last year. It was a terrible sophomore slump. I think they had a 3 or 5 top 10, something like that. 1 top 5, something along the lines of that. And no wins, obviously, but it's his second year in the business. Things could go different, but in my opinion, he's in the same category as Noah Gragson. He's a long shot to make the playoffs, unless he gets another fluke win on at COTA maybe. I know he's a good road course racer, or at Daytona again. Yeah. Next up is Christopher Bell, absolute lock, another absolute lock in my opinion. He has an incredibly good shot of getting in, made it to the championship for 2 years in a row, and I just don't see him missing the playoffs again. He's a great driver. He's probably my favorite Joe Gibbs Racing driver right now. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can really say about him. The 21 car is going to be our first absolutely not category. Absolutely no improvement from Harrison Burton unless he gets some some crazy win. It's not happening. I'm sorry. Harrison Burton is going in the absolutely not category. 22, Joey Logano. I'm going to say absolute lock. Joey Logano, 2022 champion, was blitzed in the first round last year. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I'm not really a Joey Logano fan by any means, but it was kind of interesting to see the reigning champ go out in the first round. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. But just like the 20 and I can say the 11, I think that the 22 driver, Joey Logano, just has absolutely no chance of missing the playoffs. He's too good of a driver not to. Next up, Bubba Wallace. I'm gonna put him in the maybe category. So Bubba Wallace is interesting. He made it into the playoffs last year, was the 16th seed, made it to the round of 12, almost won his way into the round of 8. A great run last year by the 23 team. 10 top 10s matching his career best, and finished in the top 10 3 or 4 times in the playoffs. So great for him, but I don't know. I could see it going both ways. This team has been sort of the up and down. They could fall into their early season slump like they did in 2022 and 2021, where they just could not finish well in the entire first half of the season. Then things started slowly picking up and up until they hit their peak at the very end of the season. Personally, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Bubba gets a win along the way and locks himself into the playoffs early. But I could see it going both ways. So he's a maybe, but a strong maybe in my opinion. Next up, 24 William Byron, 100%. Definitely going to lock himself in. Made it to the championship 4, was the winningest driver last year. I just don't see him missing. The 3 car, I'm going to put him in the long shot category. Led the league last year with most DNFs. Terrible season by Austin Dillon last year. And honestly, I could see it going better. But I think that he might have another 2022 season where he's just like average to good, but doesn't make it into the playoffs. Like if Austin Dillon didn't get that fluke win at Daytona, he was never making it into the playoffs. So I think he's going to have another 2022 season where he sits around 20th in points. But yeah, that's Austin Dillon. Daniel Hemrick, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put him in the absolutely not category. Daniel Hemrick is a bit interesting because he is he was a very popular driver after he got his first career championship for Joe Gibbs Racing off of the back of one win. And yeah, he's been an extremely consistent driver in the Xfinity series, but for Daniel Hemrick, he's only got 1 year of full-time Cup experience, and he got booted right after his full-time year. Only 2 top 10s, 1 top 5, something like that. A pole, which is somewhat impressive, but just not a lot to show for. And I feel like Colleague Racing, in the Cup Series at least, is definitely regressing a little bit. Like if you compare what they did, the year before last in 2022 with AJ Allmendinger compared to last year, they did get a win last year. Justin Haley improved, but at the same time, it's just I don't feel like I saw the 31 in the top 20 more than I did in 2022. So unfortunately, the 31 with Daniel Hemrick's little Cup experience and Colleague Racing's sort of rapid decline in the Cup Series, I think that I'm going to put him in the absolutely not category, unfortunately. Next up, the 34, Michael McDowell. I'm going to put him in the maybe category. I think he has a fair shot. He's got two super speedway races back-to-back right off the bat this season, Daytona and then Atlanta. And then, of course, he's always a threat on the road courses. So in my eyes, he probably has the same amount of chance as Bubba Wallace does making it into the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. He could snatch a win. He could make it in on just points, or he could have a little bit of a down year and not make it in, unfortunately. But we'll just have to see. Todd Gilliland, I'm going to put him in the long shot category. I'm not going to say he absolutely can't, because Todd Gilliland 100% showed improvement last year, but unfortunately at the same time, he is not on the same level as Michael McDowell whatsoever. So I think that it's fair to put Todd Gilliland in the long shot category. Same thing applies to him as Michael McDowell, but a little bit more. He could snatch like a surprise win somewhere, like at Daytona or somewhere like that, and shock the world, but I just honestly don't see it happening. So, you never know. Josh Berry, I'm going to put him in the long shot category, unfortunately, as well. Josh Berry is a very impressive racer. All things considered, he is a veteran of the NASCAR, just the NASCAR scene, basically. He was a modified driver. He raced in late models. He's a great driver all around. I don't think he was a modified driver. I might be wrong about that. Sorry if I got that wrong. But he came onto the scene late in his career with Junior Motorsports. Had lots of success there, but last year, I don't know. It's on my mind. Last year is on my mind. Although he did show some promise in the Cup Series with a couple of top 10s for Hendrick. I think that it's still a long shot for the 4-car to get in next year. I don't know. I just don't see all that much going forward with the Ford team, and it's going to be hard to sort of pick up the legacy of the Ford team and try and get Stewart-Haas back into the playoffs. But I see his teammate Chase Briscoe having more of a chance than he does at making it into the playoffs. And the same goes for Ryan Preece, Cup Series veteran at this point. I think it's fair to say he had a full-time season with Stewart-Haas Racing last year. similar numbers to his teammates. However, unfortunately, he had, I think, a worse average finish than a couple of his other teammates. He was unfortunately caught up in a lot of stuff that he really couldn't do anything about last year. But just like Josh Berry, even though he's a veteran, he's got lots of experience. I just think that the team is probably going to hold him down next year, unfortunately. Next up is the 42 of John Hunter Nemechek. I'm going to say baby for John Hunter Nemechek. I think he might have a genuine shot at it. He showed some serious promise in the NASCAR Xfinity Series last year, and with all the moves that Legacy Motor Club is making to sort of better their team this year, switching to Toyota, getting lots of new sponsorship deals, and swapping crew chiefs around and stuff like that, I think that both Legacy Motor Club drivers, have the potential to make it into the 2024 postseason. I hope to see them there because I genuinely will root for this team. But we shall see. The 42, I'm going to put in the maybe category. Now, I'm going to do the same for the 43, but I'm going to put him at the very front of this list. He is almost a probably for me, okay? Eric Jones is long overdue for having a genuinely good car after he left Gibbs, obviously, and long overdue for just making it into the playoffs on his own merit. I think he can do it, but at the same time, we don't know until the season starts, and it's just that the team over the last couple decades, half decade, has just not been up to par, and I just don't know. I hope he does, but I don't know. He's a strong maybe, in my opinion. Tyler Reddick, absolute lock, in my opinion. You know what? No, I'm going to keep him at absolute lock, actually. He's been very impressive. 2 wins last year, made it to the round of 8. Unfortunately, didn't execute in the round of 8. But talking about the preseason, I think if he can snag a win at a road course or at a mile and a half, he's a virtual lock. And if he doesn't, he'll make it in on points, no doubt about it, because 23-11 as a team has been growing a lot, and I feel that they can probably get enough points to just make it in if they don't have a win. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., it's going to be a long shot for me. A storybook season last season, definitely Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s best season with JDG Doherty, but unfortunately I just don't see it happening. I don't see a repeat happening. It was a fluky win last year in the Daytona 500. I mean, it was deserved because he was up there all race, virtually, but yeah, I just don't see it happening again. Stenhouse had a couple of great runs last year, but I don't see a repeat happening. Now, on to Alex Bowman. I'm going to make a little bit of a controversial pick here, and I'm going to say he's probably going to lock himself in. I like Alex Bowman. He's not my favorite driver. I feel like he's kind of underperformed the past couple of years at Hendrick, and you might, jump on me and say, "Oh, it's because he's injured." And I say, "Yeah, that's fair." Last year, I feel like he had a bit of an excuse after his back injury, but at the same time, you're in Hendrick Motorsports equipment, and you get 3 top 10s after he returns. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's gonna have a rebound year this year. I'm on the positive side for Alex Bowman. In my opinion, I do hope he makes it in. And make that 48 team proud. Next up, Kyle Larson. Absolute lock. 2021 champion, won 10 races. Made it to the championship for last year off the back of 3 or 4 wins, I think. 3 wins. He's a contender year in, year out for the championship. Kyle Larson makes it into the 2024 postseason. No doubt about it. 51. Justin Haley. I'm going to put him in absolutely not. My heart says I want Justin Haley to find success this year, but my brain says it's not going to happen. It's Rick Ware Racing. I hope that they can take a step up this year, at least start running, mid-20s, 20th place, something like that, because I love to see my boy Kaz do well. I love to see Justin Haley do well, but at the same time, I'm like, it's Rick Ware Racing. How possibly better can they be? Even though they're making all these great moves, they got full-time sponsorship for both drivers now. I just don't see it happening. It's the same thing with a couple other drivers on this list. Yeah, but you never know. It could happen. Anyway, next up, Ty Gibbs. I'm going to put probably lock, honestly. Ty Gibbs impressed last year. I think he had 10 or 11 top 10s, a handful of top 5s. Ran great at a lot of races, ended up spinning out, crashing. Ty Gibbs is, love him or really, really hate him. He's a very talented young race car driver, and there's no denying that. So, in my opinion, I think that Ty Gibbs can probably lock himself into the playoffs this year off of maybe a win, maybe maybe just off of points, but no doubt he's going to be consistent next season, especially if the new Toyota Camrys are as good as they look. And that's a controversial opinion, but I love the new look of the Camrys. I just want to point that out. A lot of people don't like it, but I like it. Now, Brad Keselowski. I'm going to go probably locks himself in. Brad Keselowski, been impressive. Last year he was impressive, and this year I think he's going to be the same. I hope he's going to be the same. I'm putting him in the same vein as Chris Buescher. One thing that I am sure of, though, I'm making a prediction now. Brad Keselowski will win a race in 2024. I hope he does, at least. I don't know, cut to the point where he wins a race, I guess. But yeah, that is the number 6 car, and the 60 car is non-playoff eligible. So, we're going to go to the 7 next, and I am unfortunately going to put it in the long shot category. Corey LaJoie had an awesome season last year, a bunch of top 20s, a handful of top 10s, but they were all at super speedways. So, although I think that he's probably, towards the front of long shot, probably up here with the 10, I think that it's still relatively a long shot. He could get his first career win on, a super speedway somewhere, lock himself in, but I don't see it happening on points. Although, I do think that he's going to run better this year consistently inside the top 20. That is my prediction for the 7 team. And his teammates are up next. The 71 is Zane Smith. And I'm going to say probably. This might be a controversial opinion, and it probably is, actually, but I think that Zane Smith has the potential to be a superstar, and I think he has the potential to make the playoffs this year. Seen a lot of improvement in the Truck Series. Last year didn't go according to plan, but he was the champion from the year before, made it to the championship for 2 years before that, so I think that he is a rising star, up-and-coming talent, and he will probably lock himself into the playoffs next year. Not probably off the back of a win, but maybe off, 10 top 10s, something like that. Maybe that's way too optimistic, but I hope to see Spire do well next year. They're a team I'm rooting for. Same goes for Carson Hocevar, but I'm going to put him in the maybe category. I think that if Carson can keep his car in shape and other people's cars in shape, he has a genuine shot at going for a win at a super speedway or something like that. But at the same time, if he ruffles some feathers, passes the bumper around a bit, I think that he'll learn very quickly that the Cup Series isn't the same as the Truck Series. In a lot of ways, the points are much more meaningful. The fans are much more ruthless, I guess. And the 77, he's a hothead, cocky young driver. You never know. But he could make it in. He could not. We shall see. 78, non-playoff eligible, only making 1 or 2 starts next year, I think. The number 8, Kyle Busch. I'm going to put in. I'm going to put probably. And he's very, very high probably. Kyle Busch will very much probably lock himself into the 2024 postseason, but I don't know. The playoffs last year didn't go as planned. Sort of the entire second half of the year didn't go as planned for Kyle Busch. So I'm going to say he's at the very, very high end of probably lock, but you never know. Things could go wrong. And that ties into the next driver, Chase Elliott. And in my opinion, Chase Elliott is an absolute lock. Although I don't like Chase Elliott, I'm never liked Chase Elliott, but I can't deny that he is a great race car driver, and I think that he is a absolute lock for next season's playoffs. Last year was most definitely a fluke because of the injury, and I don't know honestly how he didn't get a win and how he was so bad like last year after he came back. So I think that Chase Elliott is 100% a absolute lock, and glad to see him back in full form next year. And our last driver for today is the 99 of Daniel Suarez, and I'm going to put him in the maybe category. I think Daniel has the capability, the speed to make it into the playoffs, but at the same time, last year was just executed very, very poorly by the team and everyone involved. So Daniel Suarez made some driving errors. His team made some errors, and it ultimately kept them out of victory lane, kept them out of the playoffs. But if 2022 told me anything, it's to stay optimistic, because Daniel Suarez did get a win that year, made it into the round of 12, probably could have made it into the round of 8 if he didn't have that power steering issue at Charlotte. But yeah, that's my pick. So make sure to comment down below what you think. What are your picks for the 2024 season? And tell me what I got horribly wrong in the comment section below. Anyway, I hope to see you for the Clash reactions. Peace.